Welcome to this week's Almost Abstract Outdoor Weekly News. My name is Rob Yates. I am one of your hosts, and tonight we have Megan if I'm Harry, a soul if I'm a shoe, a map if I'm a compass, Edmund Hillary if I'm Tenzing Norgay, a sharpener if I'm a knife. We have Mr. Mark Hopkins. Welcome, Hobby.
I'm a soul if you're a shoe.
Yeah.
That's my favourite of the week.
You can stand in the shit about me.
That is my favourite. Favourite one. It's taken a few since Monica Lewinsky won. That's my next favourite now.
It is. I actually had another one around the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton thing this evening. But I decided that either YouTube would ban it if it was to go up and be found on YouTube, or we could get some seriously unhappy people. And I mean, like, I know we say we'd like some bad press and some negative comments, but
the right type of negative comments.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, right type. Yeah, this really could have
Not
got
suing type.
The one I had written down, I think would only be sensible for me to say after I've had about 6 beers, and so's everybody else. And then they'll be like, "Ooh, that was close," and I'll get away with it.
But one glass of Talisker is not enough.
No. And tonight I've got my favourite glass because it's got a bottom on it that if you put the bottom down, the glass falls over.
We can't see it at the moment. All we can see is there. You have to put it in front of you, in front of your chest. There we go. Now we can see it. Now we can see it.
And it says Talisker because that's what I'm drinking, a very fine Scottish single malt.
Well, cheers to that. Cheers to my leapfrog.
Cheers to your leapfrog, a bit of Lefroy. So here we are, and boy, what a week it's been. I just want to kick off tonight by talking about the elephant in the room, and that is the passing away of one human being at the hand of another human being, and the friggin' mess that has happened since then, Mark. Now, for those who don't know me, or do know me, you'll know that I'm not overly religious, but I do know religion. And a quote of the Bible from Ephesians jump out at me, which says, "Be angry, but do not sin." And I was brought up to think that two wrongs do not make a right. And I find it dismaying that the anger people are facing across the world, and they're protesting at this point in time. Actually, burning down a Target, which is a big supermarket, Mark, in the US, burning down a Target does not bring another human being back. And I think that at this point in time, a human being has died at the hands of another human being. That's tragic and that's terrible, and we should recognize it. But equally, we should recognize that having control of our own emotions and not putting ourselves in a position through our protesting where we can write off the rest of our days because we get maybe prosecuted for arson. And there's only 2 crimes on planet Earth worse than murder, and that's arson and paedophilia. They are game changers. You can't rent a property, you can't get insurance, you can't do anything at the end of that. And I just want to say to people out there, now's time to bring your family closer. Now's time to realize the power you have in this, an election year in North America. And understand the responsibility that comes with that. If we're not happy about it, we can take control, we can make a difference, but possibly setting light to automobiles and knocking people over in cars and trying to make 2 wrongs into a right is just not the way forwards. And that's it from my tragic part of the week. But I think it's important to talk about these things and understand that social media is permitting us to give away control of our life and permitting us to live in a way that is soap opera in our everyday life. And as we all know, in soap operas, everybody in a soap opera is a loser. They all lose somehow. Bankrupt, divorced, dead, prisoned. And unfortunately, if we choose to live our life like we're in a soap opera, we will just end up following the bad storyline that makes for it. That's enough from me. I just wanted to say it and get it off my chest. So thank you for listening. And let's move on to the idea of antifreeze being beneficial to concrete, Mark.
Yeah, and again, sometimes you have these no shit Sherlock moments. You know, when you read something and you're just going, this is the year 2020 and we've only just worked this out. And I'm not being arrogant or saying other people are stupid, but I am actually. No, I am.
Do it.
Because if I look at Mother Nature, things freeze and don't die. And overnight, they have this really cool mechanisms that protects what's important to them. And then when the sun comes out, they recharge and flourish again. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, surely if people have got half a brain, then we can look at that and go, well, maybe there's something in there that we can use for ourselves. But I just found it quite surprising that it's taken to the 26th or 20th or 27th of May, 2020 for us to realize there is a natural molecule that stops things from freezing. And that if we take that natural molecule and turn it into a synthetic, we can add it into concrete to stop concrete cracking and freezing.
It's so funny you should mention this, because this morning in a book I'm reading, which is all centered around homesteading, and the particular chapter I'm reading is about gardening, about vegetable gardening. And I was reading this morning in there about certain vegetables. So I think it's certain sorts of lettuce, kale, spinach, and a few others that have a natural enzyme in them, that when it's leading up to winter and getting colder and colder, the enzyme changes the sugar balance in the leaves of those vegetables. And when we have a frost, because the balance of the enzyme has changed and has gone more sugar-like, more fructose-like than it is water, the water molecules in the leaves don't freeze, and actually the vegetables become tastier because of that molecule. And this must be something very closely linked to what you're talking about. What a bizarre day. Well, sorry for those who are joining us live this evening. We appear to have lost Mark, something to do with dodgy internet, maybe at his end, maybe at my end. I'm really not too sure which. When he comes back, we will crack on. But I think it's important to recognize that there's loads of stuff in nature that is there that works amazingly efficiently and effectively. And all we have to do is recognize it and harness it. Mark's had to leave us right now. I think his internet's died. We'll be back in a minute. But point number 2 this evening is an incredible book. Now, in 2007, a pretty famous author called Alan Weisman wrote a book called The World Without Us. Hey, he's back. Oh, he's gone again.
Zoom decided.
We'll have to edit this bit. Rubbish, I hate editing. So Alan Weisman wrote this book, The World Without Us. He wrote it a bit as almost a George Orwell 1984, like this is how it could be if. And lo and behold, the world has just been without us. Well, the outdoors has just been without us for a significant amount of time. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to get in the outdoors since lockdown has been lifted, but I know some people in some places of the world have been able to get in the outdoors. But I wonder what it will look. What do you reckon it's going to look like now, Mark, where in a few weeks' time, you and I chuck our backpacks on our back, our boots on our feet, and disappear off into the mountains for a little while? What are you expecting to be different than what you experienced before lockdown?
I think there are 2 things. I think obviously you're reading a little bit around animals being a little bit less nervous of humans and having retaken a little bit of the land that they probably would have stayed away from. But I think the biggest difference will be vegetation. I think we'll hopefully see some of the vegetation growing again, different ways. I think that'll be quite interesting.
I'm shitting myself, I'll be honest with you, because where we're going to go hiking, there is leopards. And so if animals have got less wary of human beings and more confident around us, and we're going to go hiking and there's leopards, yeah, that's slightly terrifying. We're going to have to take our pots and pans out and a fork and like beat the 2 together as we walk just to make the leopards go away.
I don't know. I think your smelly feet would scare them off long before they'd actually hear the noise.
I tell you what, I'm so unfit at this point in time. I think my sweaty BO will keep the animals away.
But this Alan Weisman book, so he wrote it in 2007. And the example he used was a virus. Literally, he just described the coronavirus in 2007. And I just found it quite interesting that, did you know that if the pumps in New York stopped for 30 minutes, basically the subway system would be flooded?
That makes a lot of sense. I wonder what that's like in London, because London's got an underground that goes underneath the River Thames and alongside
for 30 minutes. That's
it's
crazy.
not very long.
No, literally, they stop for 30 minutes. It gets flooded. It was like, so it's quite interesting. It was just talking about how nature will take back New York. I thought it would be quite like Grand Central might be there for quite a long time, but the skyscrapers will topple down. Lexington Avenue, what do you say? Lexington Avenue in 2 decades will be like a canal again, a river.
You know that New York is a reclaimed city.
So I did not know all of the island, isn't it?
Well, so what they did is when they were building, so New York was the Hudson River, obviously, was a big, what do you call it, where river braids out and goes out. Anyway, the river went into lots of different channels going into the sea.
Tributaries.
No, that's at the start of the river, the tributary. It'll come to me in a bit. Anyway, and so when they were building New York, they actually went and took all of their refuse and dumped it on the riverbanks. And so the whole of New York is actually built on a big garbage heap.
Huh, that's another. See, people have to listen to us, because not only do we sometimes talk shit, a lot of times we talk sense.
There we are.
Deliberately said it that way around.
That's it. Useless fact of the day. So number 3 on the news tonight is a article from a website called Passport Symphony. We'll put the link below. 15 off the beaten track places in the USA you didn't know existed. So I have to admit, I went through this, and I've spent a lot of time in the USA. I didn't know, I knew some of these, but what's really opened my eyes up is places that I assumed was like Texas, a desert, actually has got beautiful waterfalls and nature reserves. And there's places that you know would be beautiful, but then like Black Island, which is near Rhode Island, just outside New York, obviously, is this beautiful nature reserve with pristine beaches. So what I really want to know is, and Mark, you can kick me off with this, but what's your little known destination, the place you've been to that nobody else really knows about, but they should know about? What's your sort of hidden gem?
Oh, geez. Got a few. One of mine is this incredible beach right at the top of the North Island of New Zealand. So on the western coast, you've got the 90-mile beach. So everyone goes all down to that 90-mile beach and have a great thing. But if you go across to the eastern side of the North Island, right at the tip, there is this tiny little beach with the best waves. That for me is one of the places that everyone should visit. It is stunning.
So mine is a free of charge camping area in Norway on the Swedish border in the Femansmarka National Park. It's got a little whitewater river. Well, it's not actually that little, flowing by it. And it's sort of like little lake, and then some white water, and then another little lake, and it's in a pine forest, and you can go and camp there for free with a whole forest about you, and reindeers come through there on occasions, and you can fish, and just the water is crystal clear and clean. And the most people, I've been there 15 or 20 times, maybe a bit more, and I've never seen more than 2 other people there. And even then, they stay for a night and then disappear. And it's just one of those beautiful places that nobody seems to go to, that's in the middle of nowhere, and it's completely free of charge.
That is a good one to go to. Does Norway charge a lot for camping normally then?
No, so if you go to an official campsite, so not many people go camping in tents in Norway. Most people will do a motorhome or a caravan. But the Norwegian law says something like this.
Do it in a Norwegian accent.
Hurdy-gurdy, dirty-gurdy. They all talk with a sing song. I can't do it. But the Norwegian law says something like this. It says that you can camp on anybody's property in any place for up to 3 nights, as long as you do not have a negative impact on that property. So you couldn't go into a field and play lots of loud music and light a big fire if the field is full of cows, for instance, or full of crops. But if it's just a field that's furloughed and put to one side, you can go in there and camp for free by law for up to 3 nights. And then the thing is, you leave it as clean as you found it, which if you've ever been to Norway, the Norwegians are very proud of leaving things as clean as they found it. But there's a huge amount of tent camping that's absolutely free. In fact, I've rarely ever paid for camping in Norway or Sweden, for that matter. In fact, Mr. Hopkins, when we get chance, we're going to disappear off to Norway for 10 days to 2 weeks, when we can fly there, of course, and I'll take you to this place and it will blow your brain.
I am up for Norway. Norway's right at the top of my list of places to go to. Never been. That is off the beaten track.
Oh, yeah. Where we're going to go to, you fly to Oslo, 6 hours on a train, and then we're going to have to either hire a car or speak to my friend Espen to go and drop us off. This campsite, my favourite place, is about 35 kilometres down a gravel track in the middle of nowhere.
Very cool. I'm in.
Very, very cool. So I have a quick question for everybody who's listening and got this far with us. And congratulations, by the way, if you've managed to stick with us for however long we've been waffling on for, you really are an incredible human being. In the comments section, either of Facebook Live or YouTube, wherever it is you're watching this, can you go and write in the comments section where your favourite off the beaten track places are to go visit? Maybe you've been there once and you want to go again, a bit like for me on the edge of Baker Lake in Washington State, right underneath Mount Baker is another beautiful campsite. Go and put that into the comment section below, and we're going to start tracking those, and we may even make a plan to go see them at some point in time. So let us know your favourite off the beaten track place to go to. So number 4 on our list this evening, I've got a funny story to start with. So when I went to first went to the Himalayas, which was quite a few years ago, 1998, it was 22 years ago, 1997, 23 years ago. Got to get it right. There we go. I went to the Himalayas, never been to the Himalayas before. For those who, I was going whitewater kayaking, and a friend of mine, my best mate, Roger, bought 2 copies of the same book that he gave to me and my wife. And the book was titled Death of the River Guide. And the book talks of a river guide. He's a raft guide. He flips out of his raft. He goes underneath the water in this crystal water, gets his foot caught in a foot entrapment, and looks up, seeing people trying to rescue him through this crystal water. And each chapter is the random thoughts that go through his head as he dies. And so my best friend Roger thought it was very funny. He gave me a copy, and I probably gave the copy away because I don't particularly want to read about river guides dying, being an ex-professional river guide. But my wife of the time then read the whole thing, and then worried because I didn't get in touch with her for 4 weeks, mostly because the communication from that part of the world to the UK was a bit of a nightmare then. So on that note, Mark, top 10 books to read.
It was just an interesting article, obviously with lockdown and other things to do. So I just found a quite cool thing of top 10 books to read about mountains. But I don't really want to talk about this article because it's a little bit boring in a way that it gives you some good books to read. So if you're interested in reading books about mountains, check out the link and you get some really cool books. But I was thinking about what kind of books would we want to write if we are like in lockdown. So what kind of books, what kind of titles, what do you reckon would be quite entertaining books for us to write? Because we are really good at writing titles.
Oh, we are, aren't we? We're actually, what we're really good at is finding somebody else's shit title, telling them it's shit and coming up with something better.
Yes.
That's like, if you want like our creme de la creme, piece de la resistance, that's what we're good at. Your shit, here's a better idea. You see, when I interviewed Nick Cunliffe, who's a pretty awesome sea kayak coach the other week, I asked Nick about what was he going to do? Was he going to write a book and whatever else? And he went off on a complete tangent talking about wanting to take on 50 Shades of Grey and write a erotic novel for females. And he came up with his own pseudonym, which I can't remember it. We'll put Nick's interview link in the description for this, and you can go and listen to whatever his pseudonym was for his 50 Shades of Grey. I have to be honest, when I'm out in the outdoors and write, I write quite a lot. I always have a notebook with me when I'm in the outdoors. And I generally write about business stuff, about observations about people, like psychology type stuff. And I then write about goals, aspirations, things I'm going to work to. I start unpicking something that seems ginormous and then work out how you can chunk it backwards. Now, I know that's not a title of a book, but we could do something like how to make immense amounts of money while working in the outdoors.
That could be a good book. I think that would be a bestseller. If only we had a strategy for that.
Well, I might have a presentation for people about that coming soon. As a shameless plug just here. I just want to say, by the way, while we're talking here and going back several places, we've got James Mankey with us, who is online this evening. James, great to see you. James is a Canadian, so that means he'll apologise for most things and say, too much, or too much.
Did you see what his Prime Minister did?
No.
It was so funny. He got asked a question around Trump, and I have never seen a politician take that long to answer a question. He literally was silent for probably 60 seconds to 90 seconds going, how do I answer this question? It was brilliant. I loved it.
In fact, James already says in the comments, boys. So James says, and James, by the way, James, you're going to come. I want you as a guest on the podcast at some point in time. Drop me a message. Let's set it up, because I'd love to talk to you about all things paddling. James says Skookumchuck Rapids, which is in British Columbia. It's a ginormous, amazing tidal race where all of the tide funnels between two islands through a channel and goes over rocks to create the most amazing waves. And whirlpools. He says Skookumchuck Rapids, most magical place on planet Earth. That's one of his 15 places to go visit. So thanks for that, James. And James, let's get you on the podcast as a guest. Send me a direct message. So what would you write about, Hopkins? I'm going to write about business, psychology, and random shit. What are you going to write about?
I think, because I do that as well, but hiking and camping, and I think something around stupid things. You know, when you see people at campsites where they're doing something and they freeze in that moment, where they realize that either something's about to go really wrong or something has gone really wrong. Like, that's what I'd write about. I'd write about those. I remember some stuff at campsites when you see people walk into a shower, they go shower, and then obviously the water stops and they've forgotten their towel. Next minute, you just see them walking out fully laden with shampoo with nothing on, and then just go, I don't give a shit anymore. I'd write about those kind of stuff that I've seen on the campsites.
So it would be a series of short stories of crazy stuff you've seen at campsites and in the outdoors.
Yeah, that would definitely be right up there.
Perfect. Awesome.
You'd be in it. You'd be in it when the white rhino chased and tripped over. That's a funny story.
Yeah, but the funny thing about that was actually me picking up the mini Mexican by his backpack and carrying him underneath my arms, otherwise known as Derek, carrying Derek underneath my arm as he'd managed to fall flat on his face running away from the rhino.
A 2-ton rhino coming straight at him.
That's it. I was about to say he didn't buy me a beer to say thank you, but he also didn't ask for any fuel money for driving me 8 hours in each direction. Maybe that's worth more than a beer. Fantastic. So in the comments as well, let us know what your favorite book is to read when you're in the outdoors, or what book it is you'd write. But this week, as always, we're going to pick Mark's favourite picture of the week from the We Get Outdoors tribe. Now, I have to be honest, it's completely biased. Nobody gets any input. If you disagree with it, it's tough. Mark, your completely biased, honest opinion of the best picture of the week in the We Get Outdoors tribe is?
It goes this week to Darrin Porter. So Darrin Porter took a picture of Big South Fork in a place in Tennessee. And it was just, I think there was a bit of artistic flair to it as well. So I interviewed a guy called Kim Walhuter recently, who is just a nutter who goes and lets cheetahs lick his face and hyenas stroke his...
He cuddles leopards. I've seen a picture of him cuddling a wild leopard. That thing's like bigger than him. By the way, his interview will go live next Tuesday, Mark, just so you know that if you want to listen to it or anybody else wants to listen to it.
He's got some crazy stories about how he overcome, what his tactics are when you get charged by a leopard. And also he tells a story about how to win a staring competition with a lioness and when to know you're about to lose, which I think is probably the most important lesson to learn. He literally was on all fours out of his vehicle doing a stare off with a lioness and was about to lose. But he worked out how to do it.
And then,
anyway, I won't spoil the punchline. But yeah, Darrin did this picture, and so there's a really nice artistic flair to it. There's beautiful water flowing over these rocks. It's just very, very peaceful, and it reminds me of a hike that we're going to be doing. Probably, I think when we're doing the Giants Cup Trail, hopefully we're going to do a nice 5-day hike in the next month or so. And there's a part of that hike which has these rapids, like waterfalls, and it just reminds me of that. So it was a completely biased take me to my happy place photo. So Darrin, you've taken me to my happy place this week. So thank you very much for sharing that one.
What's Darrin's name again? Sorry.
Porter, Porter.
I'm just going to tag.
It's Darrin, Darrin.
That's why I can't find him. I'm just going to tag him in as we are talking about him. Winner of picture of the week. Cool.
I'd love to know more about this Big South Fork. If I'd like to know more because it just looks. What is it? Is it part of a nature reserve? What is it? I'd love to know a bit more about it because it looks really epic.
Awesome. Well, hopefully Darrin can let us know. So we're going to finish off this week with the funniest thing that I have read in the past week online. So Mark, imagine this for a second. Firstly, you're stupid enough to be a burglar. Yeah, imagine this for a second. And you are on Bainbridge Island, which is just, it's Washington State. It's an island just off Seattle, basically. So you're on Bainbridge Island, you're a burglar, and you go and break into somebody's house and start stealing their 60-inch TV and their electrical goods and their money and their whatever else. And now you've got to make your getaway. What mode of transport do you think would be a great getaway mode of transport?
A Hummer.
A Hummer?
Yeah. Helicopter would be quite good. Yeah. So this guy,
a
police car. That's another good one.
A police car. Now, the police car, that is a moment of genius. That is probably the number one thing you should have because that will just confuse them for a long time. This clever soul happened to find a sea kayak. And he jumped in to the sea kayak to make his getaway. And for all of those with half a brain in their head, you will know that motorboats owned by the police can always go a lot faster than
a kayak.
A kayak.
You're telling me that was his preparation?
So he planned preparation. So he found a kayak, tried fitting the 60-inch TV into the kayak, which obviously will never work, and then grumbled because he got caught whilst trying to make his escape in a kayak after robbing somebody's house. What a numpty.
Do you know what the police should actually do, though? These people should never be arrested. They should be encouraged to do this more often. Because without people like this, what have we got to talk about? We need stupid people like this. So please release this guy and let's set him a target that he has to get arrested on the most crazy getaway vehicles known to man. That's his purpose in life.
So we need to go and find a 30-year-old male called Thomas Horton, by the way, because he's the guy mentioned in the article. And this happened on Friday last week. Of all things, I often think, is it the Darwin Awards? Am I thinking about the right thing? What is for people who do crazy shit that hurts themselves? It's like process of natural selection. I think it's the Darwin. It's like ethnic cleansing, but where you do it to yourself as opposed to somebody else doing it to you. It's that sort of like level of stupidity.
That's a good one. I like that one.
I think actually the world would be a better place for more idiots like that. There'll be more space for the rest of us to go enjoy ourselves.
I think, yeah, I might start a petition now. Free Tom Horton. So what we're going to do, everyone who's listening, whoever's part of the We Get Outdoors tribe, you're going to have to sign this petition, Free Tom Horton. But when you sign the petition, you also have to come up with his next getaway vehicle. And what we'll do is we'll say, Tom will release you, but you have to use a penny farthing. There we go. That'd be a fun one.
Well, we've got James Mankey on here, and James is a brilliant sea kayak coach, and he's always up for a challenge. So it equally could be, Tom, this guy goes, burgles a house, and then James has to train him that how far can he get away from the house in his sea kayak before the police catch him. That's got to be the challenge. With
the 60-inch TV on the kayak.
Yeah, and still working if you plug it into the electrics.
No, he has to put a generator onto the kayak so he can watch it while he's kayaking.
Oh, now you're taking it too far. So there we have it. There's the highlights of this week's weekly news. We've found out that Mark is the Meghan to my Harry and the sharpener to my knife and the sole to my shoe.
Yes.
We found out that natural plants produce a natural antifreeze that could be used to help concrete. We've thought about the world without human beings as we've just experienced the outdoors, 15 places to get off the beaten track, some books to read, a picture of the week, and we've heard about a burglar escaping from a house robbery in a sea kayak.
He's my hero. Tom Horton, you're my hero.
And so in a week that's had some ups and some downs, we'd just like to say, go out, be awesome, bring your family about you, love each other, and have an incredible, safe, chilled time over the next 7 days. Till we see you this time next week, live for the We Get Outdoors news on the We Get Outdoors tribe that you can join free of charge using the link below. Subtle hint, unsubtle hint. Also, if you want to find out all about my views on buying the perfect set of walking boots, check out our YouTube channel on Monday. If you want to go and find out about this guy, Kim, what's his name? Wolverhampton or something? Walhooter. The guy who is a leopard whisperer, a hyena cuddler, and a lion starer downer, and actually does it in Zimbabwe like on a daily basis. If you want to hear all his stories, they'll be going live in both the tribe and on YouTube on Tuesday. And I'm sure there'll be some other crazy stuff that happens between now and then as well. So please subscribe, hit that like button, give us a thumbs up and everything else. And we look forward to seeing you in a week's time. Bye-bye.